finally, we can go ahead and create each doctor their own calendar to schedule appointments in. To do that, we want to go into the Master Files menu down to Appointments and over and down to Scheduler Setup. Now you can see over to the left-hand side I've already created quite a few here and set them up down below. But to get started for you, and yours is going to be blank, you want to come up to the column name and type in the name of the column. Usually when I create a calendar for each doctor, I just use his last name, and you can see that over here. I created a column for Dr. Rice, and then I pulled him down here. That's his calendar, Rice. So what I want to do here, since I already have Dr. Rice set up, I want to go ahead and create another calendar for Dr. Rice, so he'll have two. And let's say the one down below is for the days Monday through Friday, and this next one I'm setting up for him is when he comes in on Saturdays. So any appointment scheduled on, let's say, Rice 2 will be for Saturdays. And then I need to select Dr. Rice as the default provider, so any patient who's scheduled on that calendar, that will be the default provider. Click on the ellipsis button. Double-click on Dr. Rice. Now this is rarely used, although it is an option. You can check this to use the patient's default provider for anybody who's scheduled in Dr. Rice's calendar. So for example, let's say Dr. Green's patient, we schedule him over on Dr. Rice's calendar. If you check this box, it won't use Dr. Rice as the default provider. Even though he's scheduled to see Dr. Rice, it'll be Dr. Green. So we'll skip that. Next, the facility. The only time you ever want to put something in the facility is if the doctor is working off-site. It's not his main place of service, his office. Otherwise, you'll leave it blank. If it is like at a hospital, then you want to watch the facility training videos, set up the facility, and you'll be able to select it from here. So the calendar that you're scheduling on, in this case Rice 2 on Saturdays, could be tied to like a hospital. Next is the facility. The only time you want to enter in a facility here is if the doctor's working off-site, like maybe at a hospital. Then you want to watch the facility training video and learning how to set that up. And then once you set up the facility, you can click on the ellipsis button here and choose one. But since this is going to be the doctor's main place of service here, we'll leave it blank. The start time. Now, as you recall in the provider scheduler setup, we set up the defaults. Well, you can override them here because, like I said, I'm creating two calendars. In Dr. Rice's default setup, his was Monday through Friday, but now I can override it for his second calendar that I'm setting up and say, well, on Saturdays he likes to sleep in. Let's have him come in at 9 a.m. And his time intervals for certain appointment types we'll say is 30 because he'll only see maybe new patients on Saturdays. And down below I'll uncheck everything here, of course, and just check Saturdays when this will be available to schedule appointments on. Next is the waitlist auto hold. All that means is that when you're scheduling an appointment and the patient cancels within a certain number of days here that you'll define, a waitlist will replace that canceled appointment. Now, why would you want a waitlist replacing the canceled appointment? Well, maybe you have a lot of people in your waiting list in the appointment scheduler that you would like to schedule instead of some patient who calls in and says, put me in, because, well, that would be kind of rude to have all the patients wait on the waiting list and you're taking anybody who calls in. So what you can do here is go ahead and define a certain number of days. And for this example, let's type in 5. And let me explain it this way. Let's say patient Bob Smith schedules an appointment on January 5th. So what this is telling me is that from the actual appointment date, which is January 5th, if we cancel or delete his appointment from the appointment scheduler within those 5 days, like January 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, or even early morning 5th here, in place of his canceled appointment, there's going to be a wait list. It's going to be colored in blue, green, and it will have the word wait list. And that's a visual cue for the front office to pull the patients from the wait list to schedule in place of his canceled appointment. Well, you can schedule over that if you want anybody who calls in, and you get that flexibility to overwrite. But again, it's prompting you to pull patients from your waiting list. Next to that, you have the use default, and if you check this box, it's going to pull from your system defaults. And my system defaults is 45. So when I check it, it fades it out so I can't change it. And now it's 45 days. So that gives a lot more time for patients to call in and cancel their appointment, and for me to cancel or delete it from the appointment scheduler. In that place of the canceled appointment, it's going to be the words wait list. And that's it. And when you're finished, be sure to save your column calendar here by clicking on the button. And it automatically adds it over to the left-hand side. So I can select it again, make any changes, and then resave it. Now down below, you're not going to have any of these calendars because you have a new office key. And what we want to do is we want to save all the columns that we've created up at the top here and add them down below, one for each calendar. So to get started, you want to click on Add Page. Now when you click on Add Page, it's not really obvious unless you look in the right spot. A little tab pulls up and you can see that the cursor's flashing. It means go ahead and type in the name of the page that you're going to put these column calendars on. And you can see I've got a provider page, And here's of all the doctors for the providers. I have a rooms page, Salt Lake, for all the offices in Salt Lake. This one, again, you can type in whatever you want, and I can say provider 2. When you're finished typing, be sure to hit the enter key on the keyboard to accept it. And then I got my blank page here, and I can add up to 5 column calendars here from whatever I created up above. Now the first one, when I click on the drop down arrow, is going to be Rice 2 on Saturday. Boom, it automatically adds them there. And I can keep clicking on these drop down arrows to add more if I wanted to. And these little buttons can move them before or after other column calendars. So when I click on it, moves green to the front, or I can click on the back and move green to the back here. In fact, I don't want to add green, so I'll go back to none here. In any case, when I'm done setting up, I want to be sure to save my pages. That's it. So now you can see all the tabs I have below, and if you want a sneak peek to see what this is actually going to look, I'm going to go up here and click on the first red button for scheduling appointments. And this is what it looks like. Here's all the doctors that I can go ahead and schedule appointments for. Remember the tabs down at the bottom, and there's my provider 2. For Dr. Rice, who only works Saturdays, you can see he's grayed out. So if I go to a Saturday here, it opens up and I can schedule appointments for him. And so obviously you want to watch the appointment scheduler training video to learn more about this.